Russia has intensified its attacks on key Ukrainian cities on Wednesday, as Russian officials said they were ready to hold a second round of talks with Ukraine. Western governments and companies continue to pile sanctions on Russia as the fighting went into its seventh day. Let's get more from our very own Victoria Rubadiri.
This was the scene in Ukraine's second-largest city, Kharkiv. A regional police department engulfed in flames following a Russian strike. Firefighters battling the blaze as part of the structure collapsed. The human cost far worse, with at least 21 people killed and 112 wounded in shelling in Kharkiv in the last 24 hours alone. The Russians intensifying their advance on Ukrainian territory as paratroopers landed in Kharkiv. A 40-mile-long convoy of Russian armored vehicles is about 15 miles north of the capital, Kiev. And people continue to flee, with the United Nations saying more than 800,000 people have now fled Ukraine. The journey to safety, however, a frustrating affair for Africans seeking to leave the Eastern European country. The German embassy in Kenya quickly taking to Twitter to dispel the allegations of discrimination against Africans seeking shelter in EU territory. In a series of tweets, the embassy said African nationals arriving in Germany from Ukraine have received support and visas, and further condemned any cases of discrimination. Meanwhile, the U.S. says it will ban Russian airlines from its airspace following the lead of the European Union and Canada. Other sanctions against Russia have come from major companies such as Apple, Google, Ford, and ExxonMobil. In his State of the Union address on Tuesday night, President Joe Biden made scathing remarks against Russia, telling Congress that Vladimir Putin badly misjudged how the West would hit back once he invaded Ukraine.
Our forces are not engaged and will not engage in the conflict with Russian forces in Ukraine. Our forces are not going to Europe to fight Ukraine, but to defend our NATO allies in the event that Putin decides to keep moving west. For that purpose, we have mobilized American ground forces, air squadrons, ship deployments to protect NATO countries including Poland, Romania, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia.
Despite Russian officials expressing interest to hold a second round of talks with Ukraine on Wednesday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky yesterday said that Russia must stop the attacks before more talks could take place.